Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in this video, we're going to take on EX3 for the trials to fix the time distortion. Now this one is by far the toughest of the 4 extreme stages for the trial to fix the time distortion. So hopefully you'll be able to follow this strategy or something similar to it to beat down this stage. It did take me quite a few tries, and I went with an Earth team just similar to stage 2. Now, if you're wondering how I formulate my teams, I really try a certain team comp that I have in mind before I start the fight, and depending on what kind of, hurdles I have to overcome, then I adjust the team as needed. So, of course, I go in blind the first couple of times, and then just test it out and see what kind of waves we're up against. In this case, we are activated a nice 2-turn AF with Earth Zone. And of course, you can see a very similar team to what I brought in stage 2. I figured that as long as they're not resistant to earth damage and are vulnerable to earth damage, we have a lot of defense and offense here. We obviously have the fixed heal from the Coco, 3000 heal in elemental zones. We have the dual debuff from AS Tsubami. We have obviously rage and priority powered down from Bertrand. And of course, AS Chio can round up with applying pain and poison preemptively, and doing a ton of damage with her Riki Conquest. Now note that these bosses each have an HP stopper at 50% as well as 25%. Now in previous iterations of Extreme Boss Fight, that can hit for a 999 or kill your team instantly. In this case, each of those HP stoppers only do 50% of your existing HP, so I don't believe those HP stoppers can kill you. And not only that, the bosses, these ogre only fall with a single hit, as opposed to in some of the extreme ones before where they can follow with 4 hits back to back to back to back. Now the fact that at each HP stopper it does re-establish blood zone, it's best to have 2 zone setter where you can switch back and forth, so you can kind of power up your own team and obviously help you build a bar and do more damage. So Miyufa normal style is our second earth setter. I know I forgot to mention it in a previous video, but AS Tiramisu is also a Earth setter. I just feel that she doesn't have as much synergy in non-Pierce Earth teams. For example, if you're using a lot of Pierce with Milsha or AS Seal, I think that will work really well. In the case of just having something with a little bit more debuffing, a little bit more versatility, I think that Miyufa is a superior Earth Zone setter to AS Tiramisu. So I do apologize for those who really like Tiramisu. Can't say I have much experience with her since I don't really use her or have her, but anyways. So we're just at this point trying to set up our team for wave 3. Now this wave is difficult enough where if you don't get things right, you either preemptively kill them before you can switch in Pry and get your zone setter back in play, or you can really run out of turns or run out of MP as well. Remember, there is a turn restriction, I believe, of 20 turns for this fight if you want all the rewards. And you really want to have an EF bar at least half powered for this particular wave. The Ogre Baron is one of the tougher waves to overcome. Now the reason why is the bombs actually counter. One I think counters magical attacks, one counters physical attacks. If you do AoEs, it can explode preemptively. And if it explodes, well, it'll do tens of thousands of damage. Even with mitigation, I found that it can end your team without any problems. Note that one is, like I said, resistant or absorbs physical, one absorbs magical. And if you hit it, it just sets off right away. Not to mention, Ogre Baron does have 2 HP stoppers, and so the bombs regenerate each HP stopper, and so we do require a Pry. And the strategy here is to cast Indulgence with Pry and use our other team members to bring Ogre Baron to each of the 2 HP stoppers. So one to the second HP stopper and one to kill him off before he summons more Ogre Melons to blow up in your face. Remember that Indulgence lasts the whole turn, so as long as you can end the fight on this particular turn, you will survive to live another day, and you'll actually still need Pry for the final wave, which is coming up shortly. So it's really important to have high DPS units for this particular wave so that you don't die. So you can see that Cat Hook wasn't, and see, one hit, auto explodes, 20k. So Riki Conquest obviously brought down to the second HP stopper, and we're hoping that that one ends it, which it did. And so we move right into the very last wave which is Ogre Aldo. Now, he is a challenging fight as well. The reason why is he has 1 HP stopper, I believe, at 50%. But the main thing is, at 50%, after bringing him down to that, he will counter with the his basically own version of AF, where if you use Aldo, you'll know that he can do a ton of hits on his own without the presence of other enemies if he activates a full AF bar. And we can see that graphic very shortly. So, it's time to VC in Bertrand. Remember that upon VC, he tanks a hit by applying Rage, and he also puts physical resistance up to the whole party. We also don't have a bar because we used it up against Ogre Baron the last turn. So the whole point here in this turn is to make sure we don't do anything too crazy. We activate Indulgence, so you have to wait for Indulgence to come back online before you bring him to the HP stopper. And we know that Riki Conquest with Horai Jewel set up beforehand can do enough damage to bring him to the HP stopper. And it's a matter of Pry tanking all those hits again. We also did have Nokoko heal up Pry because remember that the previous fight we used Indulgence, so he's stunned for 1 turn, in which case we're just kind of biding our time until we're ready to win. Okay, so we just activated Indulgence again. He's stunned, and so Rocky Cat Hook is here to heal up Pry so we don't die. We do still have power down, and I believe we actually have, if not, we should try to have Cat Deity Guardian, which is our shield from Nokoko up. So if you hadn't had it earlier, make sure you had cast it during the previous AF because that lasts for 3 turns. After surviving the HP stopper at 50% and that Ogre Aldo counter, it really is just a matter of surviving the 1 extra turn, having our half bar, and just ending the fight right there. And we squeak by. Whoa, that was a challenge. I will say that was quite satisfying to try out. I think it took me about an hour of experimentation. I did have the team ahead of time in terms of from the previous challenge and trial. However, this was a little bit frustrating to get the timing right, kind of modifying my team. At first, I think I had Clark instead of Pry, but I realized that really for the final 2 waves of this stage, really needed a Pry to kind of tank all the hits. I imagine someone like Garen Barrows, who can reduce damage a lot, can also probably be used, but I don't have him, so I can't really make any assumptions whether or not that will work. And I will also say that this is a much more kind of slugging it out type of team. I'm sure if you have high DPS characters, you probably can bypass all those mechanics without having to resort to taking a lot of hits like I did. But that being said, a win's a win. And now we can move on to the 4th and final stage of this wave. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.